Really didn't want to talk about this, guys.
Anyway, like, comment, and subscribe.
I didn't want to make this video. I really didn't.
I didn't want to.
This is going to be a weird video because I didn't expect to actually make this video.
So in the past 2 weeks, another little thing happened. Kieran got a little saucy. He got a little fat and sassy on a stream.
Soups and breads.
Eat bread and desserts and just get all fat and sassy.
Kieran had bought some soups and breads and got all fat and sassy. Kieran got all fat and Screenwave. So, speaking of people talking about us, he went back on a stream. There was some sort of belching girlfriend behind him, and
because that's why I got mad.
I'm pretty sure she burped at one point. I'm pretty sure she was. I'm not saying it just to be inflammatory. I'm pretty sure she was like,
This is a belching.
"Yeah, Kieran, you go, boy." Anyway, he went on stream and he talked a bit about Screenwave, but he did that thing again where he's like, "I'm not gonna post this, so people better not repost it." But of course, Cinemassacre Truth did.
To whoever fucking saved this VOD, I'm uploading it to my YouTube, and I will copyright strike you if you.
You didn't watch his stream, I assume.
Oh no.
Hello, I'm the Frankie critic. I watched it, so you don't have to.
Thank you.
Kicked off with he's super mad at Newt to this day. That Newt guy.
This fucker who plagiarized 20-something scripts because we went through all the scripts. Like, every single thing was plagiarized.
I'd be mad at Newt too.
Yeah.
That's.
I'm still not mad primarily at Newt. It's. Yes, he's personally responsible.
Yeah, well, no, you're right. It's the whole organization there is just sounds like a nightmare.
Well, no offense to Newt, but it seems to me like Newt was not qualified for this job. And I don't know why you'd be like, you, rando, run this entire show that's very important to our brand.
Yeah, write the episodes.
So he was mad, probably because they had to redo the whole thing. He said that despite pulling off the heroics, he got a bad eval. So now I'm imagining, like, you got to go to a performance evaluation conducted by Big Ryan.
Yeah.
I'm just being so humiliated. Like, yeah, go ahead, hit me with your best shot.
It's so weird to think of him as like the manager. I don't know,
Right?
or like
Sinclair, get in here now!
or would it be Justin?
He was like, oh, Cinemassacre Truth found it. They're always talking shit. That can't be real. And then they started looking into it and discovered that not only was the first episode, but every single moment of every single episode was deeply plagiarized.
Oh no,
That's bad.
well, yeah, I think I heard it was like 20 out of 30 or something like that.
Yeah, pretty good score. So his first Red Cow, the first time that Senpai acknowledged us was he wanted to set the record straight. He did not rage quit.
So I've never watched Red Cow, but I do know that they have a video about me that has a lot of views, which is really weird. But they said that I rage quit, and I did not rage quit. I quit. I was angry, but I didn't, like, rage quit. That entails that I, like, flipped out and did all the shit. I didn't.
Because the thumbnail, it's very sensational. It says, AVGN editor rage quits. And I'll tell you, the reason that I wrote AVGN editor was so that I wouldn't put, like, Kieran. I was trying to abstract it a little bit. I was trying to make it about AVGN, and that'll become relevant later. But he says, no, I didn't rage quit. I... something. He makes some distinction without a difference.
He quit suddenly, and he was very mad about it.
Sure. Okay, fine. Judge me on the thumbnail, why don't you? And then, okay, remember how episode 200 was split into 3 parts?
Right.
Kieran's
Excruciating parts.
Kieran spills the beans. Screenwave made James do it. James didn't know that that's what they were going to do. Well, no. I think they produced it as one episode, and they split it into 3 because they had sold too many brand deals, and that was the only way they were going to get them all submitted.
That's horrible.
Yeah, and James didn't know.
James didn't know.
No.
They just did it.
Oh, we're going to have to make the episode 200 3 episodes because we sold too many brand deals, and they didn't tell James.
Kieran hated doing the podcast. He wants to set the record straight on that. He hated doing it. He confirms that he is a very awkward person, that James is awkward in that format. He wanted instead to bring back rental reviews. He felt that rental reviews already was a podcast, and it was one that more or less worked, and that they should just do that instead. I think I agree.
Yeah, that makes sense.
This was the most the funniest revelation of the entire thing, I'd say. Is he spills a little tea about the fact that they bought a $25,000 table for their podcast studio, $25,000. And it's not the one that you see like where James is getting mutilated by the corner of it. It looked more like a giant Dorito, you know?
Yeah, it's like a triangle, right?
We were talking about it in Discord, and somebody was, I don't remember who, but somebody was like, but in fairness, that is a beautiful table. I was like, I don't know if
Is that the nipple high table?
I don't know if I've ever seen a table that's like, no, that's a $25,000 table.
Yeah, I would just go to like IKEA and get a table.
And not to blow ourselves here, but like I think that the format that we have, which is split screen, you can see our faces with fairly close eye line. For a podcast format, I think this looks a lot better than, like, you know how Pat the NES Punk and Ian, they have like a wide shot, but it's split screen and it's like the worst possible eye line angle ever. I don't know. To me, that I always looked at it as like, oh, I guess like this is audio first, and you should be so lucky as to have video.
Right. Yeah, I like a lot of the podcasts I listen to are like the Zoom format, and I seem to prefer those.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it is because they're like little squares and you can see every single reaction. And it doesn't look like a dumpy camera set back.
Yeah, I don't, you know, and we used to do Zoom and we would make it look crappy, I guess on purpose or something. But once we decided to dress it up a little bit, it wasn't very hard. And I think it looks better than a $25,000 investment.
That's because we didn't think anybody actually wanted to listen to these things.
Yeah, right. It was for 150 people, not for 2,000. And sometimes a lot more. I don't think you probably don't remember this. A few years ago, Screenwave put out, like, again, this is one of those videos that James was very much not in. It was like about Oculus, like it was them playing Oculus games, a bunch of Screenwave guys.
Oh, no.
There were a few videos like that. There was one where they did like a LAN party. There was one where they were like, tell us, do you prefer the Xbox Series S or the PlayStation 5? Which one are you going to get? They were really just blatantly commercials. And I don't know. I think one of the major themes here is that these guys never really concern themselves all that much with the like long-term reputation of the brand. They wanted to burn through the goodwill as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, the biggest villain is just Screenwave as a whole.
Yeah.
It's not to pick on. I don't want to pick on Kieran or Newt or anybody. It's Screenwave, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe like James for allowing them to do this.
So that Oculus video, according to Kieran, they were paid $20,000 from Oculus to make that thing. And so they insisted on making it, and Kieran resisted. He did not want to appear in it. And they said, fine, we'll give you 2,000 of those dollars if you'll do it. And so he did it. Wow. And then something convoluted about he needed car repairs, and they got raveled up in some weird thing where he was going to have them do the car repairs, and then they were late on the payment. I don't know. I wasn't following it.
All right.
By that point, I had fallen asleep. Yeah, so the angry lady in the back.
The belching lady?
Because that's why I got mad.
It seems like she worked for Screenwave too, but not for Cinemassacre. That's what she was going on about. She's kind of screaming in the background is what I'm telling you. And she seemed really pissed off at Screenwave too.
I mean,
and then
talk
you
to you
have
at the time.
so many fucking waddle in, take your job away. I spent 2 years building up that brand, dude. And then they just fucking fire me.
And the thing that she was really hammering on was that they would get bad evals, but they didn't get feedback in advance of those bad evals. So they were repeatedly not, it sounds like the feedback loop was not productive. Sounds like there's some criticism here. He described Screenwave generally as extremely poorly managed and like a slow-mo train wreck that you're at the controls of.
Interesting.
But you can't stop. Also, Screenwave, specifically, it sounds like Justin and Ryan. He never names Ryan specifically, but he does one time accidentally slip and name Justin, and he's embarrassed about it.
And I hated reading all these like mean things written about me or whatever. But Justin would just... They would just send them to me. Sorry.
He said they said that Screenwave would obsessively read the Cinemassacre Truth daily.
Beautiful.
You're very into it.
Which makes sense because there were like a lot of strange course corrections.
Yeah, like a little too attentive to the
too attentive and too yeah. Like remember when they were making fun of it, like the shirt. The weird shirt, and then he like brings like, oh, you want the dirty shirt? I feel like that's just like going overboard.
Well, that's why I had this theory that I was like, I think that Justin guy, right? He's a bit of a troll. I think that guy I think he loves that Cinemassacre Truth content just as much as the next guy. I think he's enjoying it. I think he, like those guys will sometimes speculate completely incorrectly. They'll just say something total bullshit, or like, where did you come up with that? But other times, like with like the plagiarism thing, they'll find it in like 2 seconds. Like they'll get to the bottom of things. There's something about crowdsourcing information about with obsessive people. I remember the whole debacle with when JonTron left the Game Grumps, and it was never announced why he left, and it was kind of clear that something had happened, but it never to this day was official. But like Reddit went deep on it, and John left some kind of comment that was like, how do you guys know some of what you know? So I think probably Screenwave, like Justin, he reads some of this stuff. He's like, wow, that's pretty accurate. And it's pretty funny because it's pretty, it's like a good impression. Mm-hmm. So then at 30:39 timestamp, I'll have you know, the first mention of Red Cow was at 4:40. If only he had waited 1 minute for the troll.
Only.
At 30:39, somebody in the chat was like, you should appear on Red Cow Arcade. And he was like, no, I'm not going to fucking do that, guys. He's got a little bit of a surfer thing.
No, I'm not going to do that. It's fucking stupid.
Another major theme of this is this is probably the most ridiculous thing about the stream. He talks the whole time about how much he doesn't want to be talking about this. And but he keeps being like, and another thing.
Well, yeah. For somebody who doesn't want the spotlight, he's sure streaming a lot.
I got to get off this subject. I don't really talk about this often.
I haven't been allowed to talk about this. I'm sorry.
I don't want to talk about it anymore. I just don't want to really talk about it anymore. I am just going to say this. I'm done talking about it. I don't want to sit and just constantly be talking crap. And I don't want to talk about this anymore. I don't want to talk about this job anymore. I'm not going to go on anybody's show and talk about this. I took a month off to not like talk about it. I would love to just never, ever, ever, never, never, ever talk about it. Man, I don't know what to talk about now.
He's like, there's this like tabloid video of me out there by Red Cow, and it's got like 105,000 views. It's got like a ton of views. And that's really weird for me because it's about my personal life and stuff. I was like, well, not exactly. It was about your professional life, actually.
There's a video out about me quitting that, like, I didn't put out. Someone else did. They're talking about my personal life and for YouTube views.
And he actually recants that kind of quickly. He's like, and I get that I'm a public figure, and so that... but then he said something sarcastically, and so I'm not entitled to privacy. But again, it's like I'm talking about Cinemassacre here. That's the central theme. You're just a character in the show. And somebody said that they were like, but those guys were really nice about you. They were saying you're real talented and stuff. He's like, this might be true that I might have said that about me.
It's like, did he watch it?
he claims he did not because it like makes him really uncomfortable to watch something about himself. Maybe he doesn't know what's going to be inside that video.
Yeah, we praise him more than probably we should.
Yeah, unreasonably.
Unreasonably.
Just go there. You'll be shocked. We put our
shocked.
reputations on the line with trolls.
I think he's definitely talented, and he definitely works really hard in this stuff. With his talent, he could easily make 100,000 or more because he's like so talented.
Just one little response I wanted to say, which was like, hey man, like I never would have made a video talking about any of this stuff if you had not come out and made a bunch of statements about it. I wouldn't have known any of this information. I'm just repeating the information you said.
Yeah, we're journalists.
It's just a little Streisand effect. That's all we're talking about here. He says he's not under NDA. But it sounds like the girlfriend is. Maybe she didn't belch. I don't know. I don't know where I got that. Somebody might have said that. I don't know.
Somebody said it.
My wife, for some reason, like we've been together for decades, and like I never heard her burp ever. And fart, sure, occasionally.
Big loud ones.
but never burp
Thunderclaps.
until boom. Not until she was pregnant. All of a sudden, she had like she was burping. It was so weird. I was like, I've never seen this side of you. You want to get behind me and scream about my? It'd be great. We just position her by the arcade. She'll be like, and another fucking thing. Give me these fucking evals.
You tell her, Frankie.
Calm down, Frankie. It's not worth it.
I'm under NDA.
No, it's okay. It's just all stupid stuff anyway. I never want to talk about this shit again. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Matt Stone from Orgasmo, you know? I think unicorns are kick-ass.
But I think unicorns are kick-ass.
You know what? It was downright pretty hilarious because just the comic timing of the video because he kept saying he was done. And then he would just rev back up. I was like, there he goes again. I was like, what is he? What is he, me? You know, I sent him a very nice message when this whole thing first happened. I'll read it to you. Hey, Kieran, hope all is well. You probably know we do a podcast that has covered the weird journey of Screenwave and Cinemassacre. You probably have no interest speaking publicly about what happened anymore. But in case you do, we'd love to have a respectful discussion/interview about your experience and give you a chance to clear any air you might want to clear. Either way, I hope you feel some relief having moved on to the next stage of life, and I wish you the best.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And I would still advise him not to talk to us.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Just seriously move on.
James did come out with a new AVGN, and it was Earthworm Jim. And
this is edited by the new guy, Sean.
Yeah, so that's why we had such a stake in it. It was like, so how does it come out when it's not Kieran? And, you know, it was just so super standard that I don't think you could go wrong. You know, that seems to be the play that they made this time. There's one very bizarre moment where he was smashing up the game, and it was very clear that he was just kind of miming smashing up the game, and then somebody else in a pickup was smashing it. Not to mention, like, smashing the game at this point is like a 20-year joke. Like, oh my God,
Yeah.
Is there anything else we can do? But I'll tell you, watching a review of Earthworm Jim and Earthworm Jim 2 and Earthworm Jim 3D for the N64, which I've never played, it did make, I was like, these games, the 16-bit ones, are remarkably well animated. Like,
Oh, yeah.
this is the best graphics for the system, right?
Well, it's the artist that worked on Aladdin for the Genesis moved on to that, right?
It's so good. Like, it's crazy to think that the Genesis started out with like Altered Beasts and some of those like really early titles that were almost kind of like Sega Master System titles, and it's somehow turned into Aladdin and Sonic 3 and Earthworm Jim and what else would rank really high?
Comic Zone, maybe.
Comics. Oh yeah. A lot of X-Men: The Clone Wars. A lot of really good ones. But it makes me want to revisit those. The only thing about that, I think they might need ROM hacks that make them a little fairer, a little more fair, a little unfair. Makes me not want to play. But now that I have the Mega Drive, the Mega EverDrive, and I can easily play Sega CD. What I hear is that the Sega CD version is what you want. It's got more levels. It's got the CD soundtrack.
Oh yeah, I got to check that out.
That's what you want.
Absolutely.
Did you watch the episode? No.
No. Well, it's just like, I know what it's just, It lost me 10 years ago, and I'll check it out occasionally. I checked out the 200. I checked out Garfield, and that I get it.
Yeah,
I feel like he just needed to evolve that character a long time ago, and he never did.
Yeah, so we were talking about that. We were saying, what could you, because even if some people were like, well, it's a basic episode, like, whatever. Like, they don't all have to be innovative and aspirational. And I'm like, except they sort of do, because he's been lapped by other creators on the platform. And so you need to, if you're going to keep it around, like one play would be you retire it and you go on and do other things, which is hard. Like Doug Walker could barely get that done.
No.
He wanted to do a quiz show that fell on its face and demo reel the sketches and stuff. And so he just ended up incorporating the horrible sketches into, I watched a Doug Walker thing this week for the first time in years. It was like his review of the Simpsons movie. And goddamn, if that guy isn't just doing the same thing he's always done, he doesn't get sick of it. He doesn't get sick of it.
He's got his niche.
He shows up every week prepared to make that trash. The thing that I'm really fascinated by with Doug is it's early, like 2007, 8, 9, 10 even, cameras were still kind of handy cams. You got your hands on whatever you could get your hands on. Like now, like everybody's cameras, the iPhone itself looks like a prosumer camera from back then, if not better. But back then, so like there was a charm to, I'm using my dad's camcorder to make my YouTube content or whatever. So I totally get it. But it felt like Doug went on an extra 7 years making it intentionally look like shit.
Yeah. I remember like around 2012 and, I was already, working as in video.
Yeah.
And I remember putting on a random that guy with glasses thing. And it's like, is he using the onboard mic? Can I hear the like DV tape like spinning? Like it was like
and the white balance in particular. The white balance was always extremely off. And yet there was never a tripod unless it was kind of that standard shot of him sitting. It was just whenever they do sketches, you can tell it's just somebody just going like go just to get it done. And yet his composition and the rhythm of his edits, they're not always funny. They're not always my style, but they have that like really faithful Looney Tunes energy. I actually think his editing and his shot compositions are really sophisticated.
Yeah. When I was watching the Dylan the Night Owl thing where he covers the Teddy Ruxpin thing and just some of the like, the pace and editing of it was like, that's actually pretty good. Like for a horror film.
Like the camera itself looks like he just shot it as fast as he possibly could. And yet some of the visual ideas are kind of inspired.
Yeah.
The guy at least goes for it. When Gloria watches YouTube content, it tends to be like, it's like families in their big house in Michigan or whatever. And they always, it's the same sort of style. It's like somebody picked up a camera, they're like, go, and then somebody just edited it really fast later with some green screen, with some bullshit, digital effects or whatever. And I was like, did they all get this from Doug Walker? And Nina said something so funny. She was like, all this kids and family stuff is in his same style. It's a good thing he didn't try to copyright it the way the Reacts people. Remember the Whatever Brothers?
Yeah.
They tried to copyright the idea of reacting to a video. And she was like, Doug Walker should have copywrote like, really fast, shitty filmmaking on YouTube.
Daffy Duck style filmmaking.
Well, anyway, we were talking about like what James could do, and for me, like the elephant in the room, and this is not me trying to pick on the guy's looks. It's just like, so they cut away from him a lot. They cut to the game footage like almost the whole time. So like I imagine that Sean spent a lot of time just on game footage, and just very minimal time on the nerd sitting there with a controller that's not connected to anything. And the baldness for some reason really takes me out of it. Like, because it's like, it's fine that you're balding. But I'm constantly reminded of how long this thing's been going on for and how strained the whole thing is. And we were like, you could have done like a 10 episode arc on like the nerd is up to his last hairs. You know, he can start like shaving it ridiculously. And because a lot of people have been like, why didn't he just pull it all out or something? I'm like, no, milk it. Like make a whole story out of like maybe he tries to not get pissed off because there's only a few left. And so like the joke is that so that's the kind of creative stuff you can do. And then we were like, maybe eventually he finds out, maybe it cuts away from everything he's been doing and it cuts to like a stark reality. And you find out like this really is a guy who's been in his basement for 20 years. He thinks it's been just a few days. He thinks the N64 games are still relatively new and, you know, and not retro games themselves. And like cops show up and they find like a dead rabbit with feces all over its face. And they find, you know, like Woody Woodpecker. They find all these fucking dead animals in the house. They find all these broken games everywhere. And they condemn the place, and there's no more nerd room. And then he ends up like going, you know, you do like a serialized thing. You know, he ends up connecting with some Zoomers who try to explain to him what like a newish game is, and he's like completely psychotic at this point. You do something fun.
Yeah, no, I think that's the problem is that he came up with something when he was a drunk college kid, and now he's wearing the skin of this young drunk college kid on a middle-aged boring man. You know.
But there was a time when he would, I think he was bored of AVGN a super long time ago. And to answer that, he made Board James and he made Monster Madness and he did all this other cool stuff. And
that was all successful.
But then what happened was once he lost all of his time, there was so much time. How come TCT has never done the Twilight Zone episode with Burgess Meredith? Where it was like, there was so much time now. There's no time.
There was time now. There was all the time I needed.
When he lost all of his time, I think he was like, all right, well, this is just a job. So he started making AVGN a lot more often because it was the profitable one. Because for a while he had ramped down to like 2 a year or something. Mm-hmm. He was making all this other stuff. But then when he lost the passion, he was like, oh, fuck all that other stuff. AVGN because it sells and we'll make 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 of them a year and whatever. Like we'll just mechanize them. I have a theory too, by the way. I just thought of this today when we were having a chat, one of our cyclical chats. I suspect that there was a time when James and Mike were making very good money because they didn't have like a company around the whole thing. And Mike was pulling on the rope a lot, James and Mike Mondays and stuff like that. And I think the two of them talked and they were like, you know, we're kind of at a point with the company now. You've got, I think probably for Mike, he was like, I'm making videos with Busy Bim is getting too hard. And probably the two of them were like, why don't we outsource all this? Right. That would be cool. Like that would be a good way. You know, hey, we've done it for 12 years. Like, why don't we start outsourcing some of this stuff? And because they already knew Ryan, they went to Ryan and now they don't make the same amount that they did before, but maybe they thought like, oh, these guys can maximize profits, and I don't know.
Yeah, well,
I think Mike did it.
You think Mike is the culprit?
I think Mike is responsible for a lot of the good things that happened in their business for many, many years. I think James and Mike Mondays was a stroke of genius because that's really what bridged the content gap. That's what kept people engaged with like video game content from like a video game obsessed guy like Mike with a balanced personality like James, who's more or less comfortable in that environment when it wasn't 540. And you got it every week, like clockwork. So you could go months without a new project as long as you had James and Mike Monday. I think that was, and I think that was all Mike. It was a stroke of genius.
Why did they stop?
I think probably Mike got sick of it. He was like, I'm having a, like, they probably had a really hard time connecting with James. I was talking to my wife about this recently where it feels like so often the goal of business owners, people who have been doing what they do for a long time, they want to have the legacy live on beyond them. It's like the highest goal is, could this thing keep going without me? And I don't know if that's like the right goal because whoever you are, I think of it as maybe like, what's a good example? I was thinking of the Hensons at the moment. Like Jim brought something very specific. And when he allowed Frank Oz to direct Muppets Take Manhattan, he got something pretty different. Like it carried on the legacy of the Muppets for sure. But like you totally have to accept like that it's going to have different DNA. And then when it moved on to Brian Henson, it was kind of a different thing. And that's if you're lucky. That's like I think all of those projects are pretty well connected. But I think everything has a heyday. I think like you have to just accept the fact that the DNA of the thing are the people. The people are irreplaceable. It can become a new thing, but it can't. They can't. Apple is not the same without Steve Jobs. You know.
Yeah, I was listening to somebody. I think maybe it was one of the Film Threat people or something, where they were like, he was like, I think things have like 10 years. It's like 10 years for their heyday. Like Star Wars had 10 years. Lord of the Rings, probably had less than that. But it's like you get a group of people who are super motivated, and then they do their thing, and then they all move on.
That's it.
I think that's pretty. It's pretty good.
You have to sort of accept it.
Yeah.
Then the question is, do you accept your own demise? Like Tarantino put a timer on his career, like so that he didn't run the risk of making bad movies, which is pretty controversial. Like some people get really pissed off with that kind of talk. I sort of get it.
Yeah, I get it. You because you have eyes. You see that filmmakers will just put out a bunch of duds for the rest of their career. You know, it's
Yep. Yeah, people are irreplaceable.
Or something. I don't even know what you people are talking about sometimes, but somebody's like, Mike, the aliens are coming, and they know about Gadget and the AI, and I'm like, what the? I don't know what you're talking about. And they're like, Mike, do you know aliens? And I'm like, maybe if they're from Dimension X, I might know some of those guys. So you have the Rock Warriors, you got those guys. You know when Krang looks like kind of like a dinosaur and he's walking around?
there other people
The fuck are you talking about? You are an idiot, sir. Like you're making shit up.
That's why I got mad, because why I got mad. Because they thought that after all the time I worked there and all the shit I dealt with, and
Birdo's in Mario Kart
and these
now.
people, like I've been to their.
Did you ever belch and almost puke?
Subscribe to Red Cow Entertainment on Patreon for full episodes every other week.